Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Why do Western societies hate Islam and Muslims?
Well, if Western societies didn't hate Islam and Muslims, do you think it would be possible to have all these wars in Muslim nations? I think it wouldn't be possible. So if you are part of the Western society, if you are a citizen of the Western society, you should ask yourself this: why do you hate Muslims? Have you met any? Did you spend time with them? Do you know how they are and how they think? And the answer is no. And if you as a Westerner hates them, you need to ask yourself why. What's the purpose? Like, why are you conditioned to hate? The answer is clear. When you don't hate them, then you would question your own government, why they're invading Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, and now Iran. And then you have the answer. And what is the reason? It just so happens that all the oil reserves are in this region, not only oil, also gas. Then there are countries like the US that claim, oh, we have oil. Well, it's not true. If that's the case, why is it that they're always obsessed? Why is it that all over the Middle East there are American military bases? Well, it's contradicting, right? And that hate towards Islam and Muslim people, it was always there thanks to Hollywood movies. And then after 9/11, it was even more so. So the enemy picture was created. Even me, even though I'm originally Asian, there was a period of time when I was on a train and I see a Muslim family, a man with a beard and a woman that is covered. I had negative thoughts in my mind. And because I can't process my thoughts, I checked on myself. I'm like, why am I thinking this way? Why am I seeing them as bad and as a threat? And then I realized because we have been constantly brainwashed. Not only news, social media, there are certain influencers that always highlight that Muslims are a threat to our society and they hate us, they are dangerous. And then there are also games like Call of Duty. So when you play these games, Call of Duty, who are the enemies? Like it's Middle Eastern people like that have a certain look. Then you associate that with that belief and with that faith. And then you have a few Hollywood movies that make this a topic. And it's the amazing US soldier, the hero who goes somewhere in Iraq and in Afghanistan and he's saving his nation, he's a hero. That's how you achieve hate. And hate is needed. You need hate. You know, you need hate to justify crimes. You know, then of course you put a little bit of, oh, the women are oppressed, we need to go and save them. That's what it is. When you know the region, when you know the truth, you know that it's not the case. This is how they lie to their own people. How do I know this? Look, I was born and raised in the West. I lived in Ireland and England. I studied in the US, so I know both sides very well. So I know what I'm talking about. Let me share something personal with you, something that I experienced when I was a teenager. So I grew up close to an American military base, and I made friends with young American soldiers, meaning 18, 19 years old. And at that time, I was like 16, 17. So they shared with me their stories and their sorrows. The path of choosing to become a soldier is not an easy path. It's not that straightforward. Most of them grew up in poor families. They didn't have the possibilities to study. And the way the American system is built is university is not for free. You need to pay for it. Like in Europe, it's for free. If you're a European citizen, you can study here for free. Why? Because the taxes are used that way. You have healthcare and everything, but in the US, it's not the case. When you are born to a poor family, you don't have many options and opportunities. The way the US military is designed, it gives you these possibilities to study, to have education. At the same time, you're getting money. Then they go and participate in operations in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and they have regrets and they share it with me. They come and tell me what they've done, and they feel devastated and deeply, deeply sad and broken, a deep depression. They say like, Dan, like we are over there, we are killing innocent people, and some of them look like you. And now when I'm back, I always have you in my mind because you are so kind, so friendly, and I feel so comfortable around you, and I just hate what I'm doing. And this is very heavy. You know, there are very horrific incidents. I don't want to go into detail, but I'm sure some of you heard of what they have done there. And some of them even committed suicide after that. They are there to take lives of the innocent, and then they take their own life. They go brainwashed thinking that they are really fighting enemies, and they lose their innocence while killing the innocent. And they do this because they are conditioned. And they get injections too. There are specific injections that they told me about, injections that take away their nervousness and their fear, which makes them even more gruesome and barbaric when they're out there. They are not supposed to feel, like emotions have no place in these operations. So yeah, the answer to your question is a very long one. As you can hear, I have a lot of things to say, but yeah, you know, think about it. How would it look like if Islam and Muslims weren't hated and weren't like, you know, I read the Torah, I've read the Bible and the Quran, and I must say, in the Quran, Jesus is mentioned, Moses is mentioned. Like, it doesn't make any sense. They always like to blame religion. These wars are never about religion. They will never tell you the actual reason, but I can tell you the actual reason. You know, when you listen closely, they say it. They say it's about interest, and the interest is oil and gas. Robert Kennedy Jr. said, if we are not in the Middle East, Russia and China will have a control over all the oil and gas reserves. This tells you everything you need to know. So in order to be there, your own people need to hate. They need to hate, and they do hate. And it is very unfortunate and very sad how societies are played against another. Look, you're not supposed to hate another. Look, this might maybe even trigger some people, but you're even not supposed to hate people that are of Jewish faith. Look, people of Jewish faith are definitely not the enemy. Christians are not the enemy. Muslims are not the enemy. They come from the same region. God created all the prophets in the Asian continent. All prophets were Asian, if you look at it. They were not European. Jesus wasn't European. Moses wasn't European. Muhammad wasn't European. They are all Asian. They are from the Asian continent. They are all Semitic. What's happening today has nothing to do with religion. Don't fall for it. It is all about power, about energy resources. And that's why right now the gas prices are so high. It's not because of religion. It's because of the fight for greed. When you buy groceries, you pay now triple the prices. It's not because of religion. It's because of the imperial war, the capitalistic mind that wants to get more and have the control of everything. Therefore, you are conditioned to hate people from the specific region. And now think about it. When the war against Vietnam happened, was it about oil and gas? Was it about Islam or Muslims? Are Vietnamese people Muslims? Are they Christians? Are they Jewish? They are not. So it was a war about fighting off the Soviets. It's about control. It's about spreading the empire. And what happened with Venezuela, like, is Maduro a Muslim? So why did that happen? To justify the invasions in the Middle East since more than 8 years even, before the British and the French were at it, right? And now the US is doing everything with some NATO members, believe it or not, but I'm telling you, more than 10 million Muslims have died when you calculate all the deaths and all the wars that have been happening in the region, yet nobody talks about the victims. And they are the major threat, they're the major enemy. And I think people need to wake up to see that this is a game and they are conditioned to hate. So next time you hate something, ask yourself why, and who wants me to hate this or that, for what reason? It's very easy to be conditioned, especially at times where we use social media.